I believe that Isaiah 58 is like a blueprint for the rebuilding of a continent and dealing with the poverty. And that's the starting point. It's the upside down kingdom. If you go to the top, you don't find that people hear you. Jesus didn't go to the kings, the governors, the rich, the powerful, the educated. He went to ordinary men and changed the whole world. And I believe God chooses, he says in his word, that he chooses the weak things of this world to shame the strong and the foolish things of the world to confound the wise. And that's very powerful. And so we're going to the very poorest of the poor, who are the ones he came for, primarily in Isaiah chapter 61.
Now, as a businessman, that's quite contrary to how you would deal with a problem in the world's way.
Yeah. Isaiah 55 says, God says, my ways are higher than your ways, and my ways are different to your ways. And so we have to say to the church, we can't expect the world to go that way. It's the church's job to lead the way. We're to be salt and light into the world, and the head and not the tail. And we create models at the bottom of effectiveness, of people coming out of poverty who they didn't expect to. It confounds the wise.
My personal testimony is that I've got an honours degree in agriculture. I studied for 4 years and I was taught by the fathers of agriculture in South Africa. They taught us about deep ploughing and inversion and the values of those things. When I met Brian Aldrieve, I basically had to forget everything that I'd been taught. See, those men are leaning on their own understanding, and I had to come to a place where I would hear from Brian and really meditate on the heart with which farming God's way comes, and that is that we will honor God in all areas of our lives. He's the master farmer. He's the master of creation. He knows what's best for the soil. He knows what's best for crops. And so by having a full understanding that God is the master farmer, it allows me to be able to establish the truth and become fully persuaded that farming God's way is the right thing to do. This cairn is a marker to show mountaineers the way they should go. And I encourage you that you would go to God's word to really find out his way as you ascend the hill of the Lord.
My father used to get 3 50 kg bags from half a hectare, the field which he handed over to me as an heritage. But when I heard about farming God's way, I went and applied straight what I was taught. And the following year, I got 45 50 kg bags from the very same piece of land. And the third year, I got 54 50 kg bags. And just last year, as I'm saying, that was the fourth year, I got 69 50 kg bags, which I give God all the glory, honor and praise.
I wasn't being saved when one of my friends stayed in Chinoi, called Boot Pretorius, introduced to me farming God's way. He explained to me it is not all about farming, but it is life in Christ. So when I adopted this farming, that's when my eyes were being opened to understand that Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. As you can see here, I'm walking in the path straight to the way to God's kingdom. And Jesus Christ is the door to this kingdom where there is abundance of life. Everything is there. There's no need for you to worry. There's no need for you to cry. There's no need for you to look for everything. Because always the word says that, seek ye the kingdom of heaven, and everything will follow. This farming God's way has brought a restoration in my family, in my marriage, in my community. As you can see here, we have a lot of food to eat in our table. Look what he has done to me. He has blessed me. He has blessed you also. So we are inviting you to come and join in this trek. We are inviting you to join us in this farming God's way. It is not all about farming. It is about life in Christ. We are going somewhere to Jerusalem where there's no tears, where there's no hunger, where there's no poverty, but there is everything in abundance.
This year, we had a very terrible drought. We had no rains from the end of December till the harvest time. But I thank God that through farming God's way, I managed to get 20 50 kg bags from 2/3 of my whole field. Very unfortunately, my closest neighbor who never turned to farming God's way, he only get 1.5 bag from exactly the same land area. Just to talk a little bit about ghost blankets, the first time when I had farming God's way, I took much from my home down to the field, and where I put 20 by 30 meters of the field, then I planted my maize. But after harvest and after knocking down all the stalks, the cover was 100% mulch cover on the ground. But we had a very quick decomposition. Then come the time for next planting season, there was nothing left on the ground. But you know, it's a process. It's not like a one-day show. Keep on bringing on your ghost blanket on the ground. It will come right over the time. You know, gradually I have seen my blanket being accumulating, you know, time to time. So I want to encourage you to still bring on ghost blanket into the soil, into the ground.
You know, this is an amazing example of unfaithfulness. You see the standard of this maize. It's going to amount to the typical African standard of around about 350 kilograms per hectare. Where in the background there you can see the Westgate station, the Farming God's Way station. There they're getting up to 15 tons a hectare. That's their record yield. And here we're looking at this typical 350 kilos a hectare. What is the difference between this land and that land? Absolutely nothing. Poor stewardship and unfaithfulness has led to this demise. This man will go hungry this season, and so will his family. We have to be prepared to humble ourselves and turn away from our wicked ways. Stop relying on our own understanding. It doesn't matter if your father has shown you this way. It's not working. We need to be prepared to make a change.
I'm introducing myself to you and make sure I'm changing. This is my family. We are working together as a team. If you do everything at standard, then God will really bless you. That's why you are looking at this very, very, very good, nice crop. It is because we have done it at a high standard.
For 4 years that I've been doing farming God's way, I've never had faith of doing crop rotation. I've done this year crop rotation of 1/3 of my field, and by doing that, I know that I'm breaking down the disease cycle and also the balance of the income from this wide variety of crops. I know that crop rotation, like what I've done with my cotton, is a significant part of practicing farming God's way wholeheartedly.
I just want to talk a little bit about crop rotation. It is also a principle of giving. If you give, what you give, you will receive. This crop you are seeing here, it takes a lot of nutrients under the ground. So if you keep on just planting the same crop, you are undermining your soil. But if you exchange with legume plant, it gives something into your soil. And what you give is what you will reap. This is the principle of giving. God is always encouraging each and everywhere. Don't just receive, but you have to give something. So if we give what we have, we will receive, and God will just really bless us in abundance.
This is a field of no-till soybeans into wheat, and particularly why I'm doing no-till is for conservation purposes. We're finding an increase in organic carbon in the soil by not removing any of the crop residue, and also by not removing the crop residue we're finding a lot of protection for the soil from the elements, especially raindrops. Breaks the kinetic energy. We're finding a better structure, improvement in soil structure. It's actually ideal having a crop like wheat because they're so evenly dispersed over the soil surface. Your roots are evenly dispersed, so you've got a lovely mulch, a natural mulch of root, and then on top of the surface you have all the residue. So this is close to ideal. If you have a look on the ground, you'll still see last year's maize stover. and then we planted wheat into that, and now we're rotating with soybeans. And we rotate to break the disease cycles. The advantages of growing maize after soybeans as well is that soybeans have a natural nitrogen fixing ability, and so you score up to about 30 nitrogen as a bonus after soybeans. That's an added advantage to the next crop. On this particular field we've taken out the contour furrows because with no-till you're having such an effective infiltration rate that we don't need any furrows to remove excess water. I'll do 100% no-till, so I'm doing 535 hectares and it's all no-till. The oldest fields are 12 years continuous no-till, and this particular field we're on was bought later, and that's the 5th year we're doing no-till here. And it's incredible after 5 years how you notice the change in the soil structure and increased infiltration and just general health.
My name is George. Last year I tried 3 portions over that side. I tried to farm there, farming God's way. So much I got 5 bags out of those 3 portions. And when I added up to 11 portions this year, I got 12 bags out of those 11. And to be so honest, that farming through God's way is the best way so far I've seen. Because it's really helpful to redeem our soil, but it should be to be as it was before. Before I started following farming God's way on this soil, it was so hard, like powder, it was not producing anything. It was not giving me much as it is giving me now. There are some other things of which so helpful as well, like manure. These things, they are really helping us so much. Because with our financial status here, we can manage to buy fertilizer. That's why we use manure. And they are really helping us. And as I'm talking, our soil now is being redeemed as it was before. This teaching about farming God's way, even the village headman from this village is really accepting it and acknowledging that, and he's even testifying about this. And he's telling everybody in the society that through farming God's way is the only way whereby we can bring our soil back to original. And from here, as we go down to the village, the village headman will testify for himself the goodness he has seen through farming God's way. I really thank God that God has brought revelation through farming God's way. I thank God for that. I really thank God for the farming God's way. I did not expect that as this small piece of land that I can get 10 bags, 70 kg ones out of this piece. And from the rest, and I got 4 bags only. That was the place where I did normal farming, not farming God's way. I really thank God, and also at the same time need to encourage other people who, you know, despise this type of farming God's way. That they should be on board and really follow these methods of farming God's way. And when we follow this system of farming God's way, we'll have no problem with hunger in our families. I want to say it so strongly that this year I will do more even than this. And I want to get some manure and put in the land. And also I want to put God's blanket evenly and go in the bush and collect some grasses and put in here as God's blanket.
In my first time in my life, I harvested from 7 bags to 70 bags. And this maize which I had, I managed even to sell some of it, and I managed to buy my own garden and also the house which I'm staying now. I've seen God really move on that.
You know, the Bible says that he who sows sparingly will also reap sparingly. This farmer clearly has not put anything back. But what's interesting is when we come to this portion of the garden behind me, this garden has been planted into anthill soil, and it's a beautiful example of God's all-sufficiency for the poorest of the poor. The yield in that part of the garden is significantly, probably 5 or 6 times higher than in this portion of the garden. It's a great indicator of God's provision for even the poorest of the poor, that if they will just take what God's given them right in their hand and utilize it effectively, they can come out of poverty.
My name is Fanny. I'm an old woman. Just because I didn't have money to buy fertilizer and to use manure, I just take the anthill soil and put in the hose. And afterwards I saw my maize doing fine.
And
in comparing where I didn't put the anthill soil, there was nothing. For me, I really thank God, just because God has blessed me. I've got something of which I can eat this year.
Africa is not poor. Africa is rich. If we can harness the principles of farming God's way, we are going to give God praise. Because when you give God praise, we are thinking about what God has done. We have got to think about the nature. You know, as I'm standing here, you can see around me, there are things under me. This is God's blanket, and this garden is very rich. And why should we declare that Africa is poor? I am saying Africa is not poor, but the mentality. We have got to change the mindset. Africa is rich because God has invested the riches in Africa.
Where I'm standing now, it's a rockland. And they came with idea from asking God for zero-till. So this place, it's now working very nice. I always bring my grandchildren here and show them and tell them how good is God. If we work with God, everything can come very well. It used to be a poor land. Now it's a wonderful land because there's no plowing. It's only tillage. That's why I said God is wonderful for us. If we work with Him, everything can be wonderful to us. So that is all that I can say. Thank you.
What a joy it is for me to stand in this beautiful crop like this of soybeans, where at Hinton Estate, where I've been discipled by Brian Odriff and Norman Beery, who are the champions of farming God's soil. I was employed by Brian Odriff at Hinton Estate in 1994, employed as a chemical mixer, and from there I grew up being discipled, and Brian seeing my faith, he promoted me to become a farm carburetor. From there, I started to minister to many communities in Zimbabwe and throughout the nation, and I rejoice in doing that because it's God's way.
I started working in a little parish out in Lesotho, in the mountains of Lesotho, and I really struggled with the fact that I was preaching to people on an empty stomach, and I thought, how can I change this? So we started with projects. We bought a tractor and we put up irrigation and we put up greenhouses and we grew tomatoes big time. We had at 1.4 tons of tomatoes per week to get rid of. So the pastor became the tomato smos. And I just really battled with this because we got nowhere. We plowed for people free of charge and nothing happened in people's lives. And then we had a severe drought and famine in Lesotho. And so people would come to my gate and every morning they would just beg for work, for food. And the one morning there were 50 people standing there. And I thought to myself, you know, this can't go on. And I told the people, I cannot feed this nation. Come to me and I'll teach you how to do this. And Farming God's Way came into our lives about 6 years when we were into this project, and we started with our first test plot. So we knew it worked. And that first Monday when people came, about 100 people pitched up at my place. The second Monday, 150. The next Monday, 200. It went, we averaged a group of 200 to 300 people every Monday morning. We had church on those Mondays that we never had on Sundays. But we started teaching them Farming God's Way. And about 4 or 5 years down the line, there was a big World Food Program event at our place. And those farmers, those guys who stood at the gate and begging, they had a play. And they called this play At the Gate. And they told the story of how they stood at the gate and they begged for food. And now they don't have to do that anymore. They were able to sell food, they were able to care for their families, they were able to teach other people. So Farming God's Way has been a great way for us to reach out into people's lives.
Hello, I'm Vumile Zulega. This is my wife, Patience. We are doing Farming God's Way, and we have been doing it since 2004 in an area which was formerly called Transkei. We've been planting maize, potatoes, beans, peas and cabbage with wonderful results. We are planning now to take the Farming God's Way and teach it to every village in Transkei so that they themselves will be changed from poverty to upliftment. Thank you very much.
I'm so sure of encouraging other women to plant in the Farming God's Way, and in Transkei, you know, all the men are used to be out and we stay alone at Transkei. Then women must be sure and plant these millies because we are struggling. But if we do this way of farming, no one will be getting in poverty. No women, everybody will be so strong.
Yeah, there are big, huge African big elephants here. They are just around this community and they are eating people's food. They are squandering everything. But God has protected this field. It has been protected for 4 years. They are just going around here, which means the presence of God is here. Even in Africa, if we invite God to be in this country, to be in this continent, there will be also the protection of everything that we are fearing. The greatest fear that we are fearing, like people they are fearing of elephants, is hunger and poverty and witchcraft. God can protect. You cannot go to the Nganga. God is the protector. He is our refugee. He is our help in times of trouble.
So Dix, has been your 5th year of the implementation of Farming God's Way. Tell us the story of how it began and where you're at right now.
Well, for me, I thank God for Farming God's Way. You know, over down the line has been a huge blessing over my family and my personal life, and I've seen a great improvement, a great change in my life and in my community around. To me, I always credit and give God the glory. You know, when I started it, people thought I was crazy and stupid. People were laughing at me and thought I was just a laughing stock of the society, But I know
from a motorbike mechanic to a
from a
farmer.
motorbike, yeah, they thought this guy's lost now this time. But after the results, the Bible says you'll see the tree by its fruits. So after they saw
well practicing white man's farming.
That's right, man. So it has been a huge blessing to me, in my family and all the communities around, and I have seen my life being transformed, and I've been pretty much blessed about this. So I want to encourage other people out there, man, about farming gospel, that they should also try. Most of the people out there, they're only healers. They don't want to practice what they have been taught.
Yeah.
So I want to encourage them to do something about farming gospel, just to be on board and do farming gospel. My life has been so changed, man.
So what do you do when you go from 5 bags to 69 bags? I mean, what does it mean for a family like your family?
And to me, as I'm saying, it's a huge blessing, man. In comparison to some other guys now, I've been, and some even they come out from the village, they go to town, they go to South Africa to work. And to me, it's a great joy just to serve the community and to have something. And like what I was telling other guys, and I've sold some of the excess and managed to get more than 100,000 kwachas and managed to, to keep up my family in the good standards and just to help the poor and some of the crippled guys, those come to me and, help some food. And yeah, to me it has been a great joy coming from 5 to 69.
And I know you've been involved in the great extension of Farming God's Way in Mapelera in your community.
Yeah.
Have you seen a marked improvement in the community? Is the community really being uplifted? Tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. I've seen some more individuals, not few of them, but most of them, their livelihood has been, improved, absolutely improved from low to high, high standard to high level. For example, I've got Ruth, maybe you know her, and I've got Lester. I mean, you can see their livelihood. And Lester, I've managed even to put iron sheets, on his roof. To me, it's like so encouraging to see these guys who are just from, regarded to that cannot mount, poorest of the poor, they cannot mount to anything. Now this time they can have something and also give to others and to care for their lives as well.
So do you believe that Africans can really do this? Can Africa arise from the begging bowl to the breadbasket of the world?
100%, no doubt about it. I 100% believe in that Africa can come out from their poverty situation and be somewhere, man. To me, I've got that faith that if we implement what we're being taught, we can come out of that poverty.
Wow, that's wonderful.
Sure.
Bless you.
Be blessed as
Love
well.
you so much, my brother.